All right, guys. I've been hearing the conversation a lot that in basketball, like the Achilles, that's like becoming like for baseball, like the elbows, like the Tommy John. That's a bunch of bull crap, guys. Tyrese Halliburton shouldn't have played in that game anyway. Bro, what are you doing? Like, all right, I'm done clip farming. I actually mean that. Anyway, though, yeah, we get the Bengals today. Defense sucks. We all know that. And yeah, the offense is great, but again, the defense sucks. All right, I'm actually done, guys. We got the Bengals again today, so yeah, let's go. And with that, what is going on, guys? Welcome back to the Fun of L. Please like and subscribe. Hope you guys enjoy the Cincinnati Bengals 2025 roster grades. Again, if you have not seen past ones, again, this is now the halfway point. We're halfway done with this series. Again, it's going on like 3 or 4 years now that I think about it. But with that said, also, again, if you haven't seen the Cowboys when I made the decision to, not have like an extended intro. So if you want to get a full analysis and like kind of explanation about all this, well, go watch the Order Farm, which is the Tennessee Titans roster grades, which is the first one. I go into in full depth and breakdown on how this works. But again, if you're just here to watch the Bengals and get their grades, well, here we go. All right, at quarterback for the Bengals, they of course have Joe Burrow. I'm not gonna get too much into him. Again, he led the league in passing yards last year with nearly 5,000. Again, yeah, that's who he is. 42 touchdowns is the most since Tom Brady in 2021. Cuts under 10 interceptions. I'm gonna be honest, I don't think a guy other than maybe Aaron Rodgers has done that. So pretty good company to be in. Again, with Joe Burrow. But again, they didn't make the playoffs. So, like, is that completely his fault? Kind of. He had some bad turnovers this year. No way around that. But Joe Burrow was statistically the best quarterback in football last year. Also, well, technically not in terms of the efficiency, but again, we all know about Joe Burrow's unmatched pocket presence, and again, his just ability to find the open man and all that. But I mean, it's Joe Burrow. Like, what else am I supposed to tell you? Again, he's one of those 4 quarterbacks. Like, what else you got to say? But again, big thing with them is that they got to solidify backup in Jake Brown. And yeah, last year didn't play too much, and again, before 2023 he didn't. But again, 2023 he proved himself after Joe Burrow got injured. I wouldn't say he was great, but overall, again, showed that he can run this offense, and that's really all you need out of your backup quarterback. And again, even then, he's probably at a higher level than you might have even thought he could have. Because yes, he took a couple sacks. Yes, he maybe didn't have the same effectiveness as Joe Burrow, but still was very productive. And again, just overall, did a freaking good job, guys, when it came down to it. So yeah, Jake Brown might be the best backup in football, but he can run this offense, and that's all you need out of him. Logan Woodside, again, preseason demon, but outside of that, guys, you have not seen him throw an NFL pass. And then you also have Peyton Thorne, who is not the greatest known college football quarterback in playing for Auburn, Michigan State. But that's besides the point. Obviously, going to get an A++ for Joe Burrow. Again, like I said, you can give him an A+. It really doesn't matter. They're going to get it. He's going to get an A++ because he's just that guy. With that said, that's all I got for quarterback. Time for the skill positions. Again, as we always, we start out with running back. Moving on to the skill positions for the Bengals. Again, we'll get in this running back situation, which again is led by Chase Brown. Also receivers, then tight end, as we always do. But for Chase Brown, last season was definitely a breakout year overall. After, again, Zach Moss went down in like week 2 or something. It really doesn't matter. He took over the starting job and did not look back. Had 990 yards on the ground and pretty decent efficiency behind an offensive line that is not strong as a run blocking unit. Yeah, crazy. No, I'm joking. But still, after rookie season where he had one solid game against the Colts that was led by a 54-yard receiving touchdown, he really didn't do much last year to become as a rookie. Then last year, though, he really proved himself, like I said, on 230 carries, 990 yards, nearly 1,000 yards, and 7 touchdowns. Also had 4 scores on the ground through the air. But honestly, these numbers are a little bit skewed to the fact that, again, like 6.7 yards per catch. It was kind of like back to where we saw in Illinois, where he was just basically getting every touch. Nothing against him, again, it wasn't like that at all. But I'm saying, like, maybe he's not like one of those guys that could like play multiple positions there. But anyway, he's still a guy that'll be a very valuable out of the backfield, and maybe anything up those that efficiency as, again, a guy in terms of making guys miss out of the backfield. That'll definitely help his game overall. Because again, I don't think he'll be a guy that'll be getting 300 carries anytime soon. But again, he has proven himself, I think, a decent bit as a number 1 back. I don't know about a bell cow by any means, though. Zach Moss was absolutely atrocious last year. What had made his game great. Not really great. Work was the fact that he is a one-cut back that can get out of the backfield pretty well, and he also can break tackles at a solid but not great clip. Last year he didn't break tackles at all, and his indecisiveness, which again is also a big weakness of his game, really showed. And again, even as a receiver where he's always been somewhat valuable, I'll say he was okay last year, but again, as his pass blocker, he just completely mitigated whatever he did in that part of the game. With that said, though, yeah, he's not going to be finding himself as a starting running back anytime soon, despite, again, having a pretty explosive 2023 season as a Colts somewhat starter with John Taylor having injuries injuries and stuff. Other guys, Samaje Perine. He's a guy that I think is pretty solid overall. Again, yeah, last year with the Chiefs really didn't get too many opportunities. Again, he hasn't really ever had a true workload since way back in his rookie season. But that's really besides the point because, again, he's always been a valuable receiver, which we saw a pretty decent bit last year with the Chiefs. But I do think that, again, he could definitely mold in the backup running back that he was with this team for a while. Again, he also he was really the only thing that I can remember with him with the Bengals, again, in terms of like actual like highlights, was when he had that touchdown against the Ravens, like when they were absolutely just spanked them. Anyway, though, Taj Brooks is a guy out of Texas Tech that I'm not really too fond to watch, but at the same time, who cares? He could carve himself a role out here. But a running back, I think a B- is fair here. Maybe a little lower, maybe a little higher. Again, you got a starting caliber back in most ways, and then I mean the depth is depth at the end of the day. So I think 21 points, B- I think is pretty fair though. And again, like maybe a little lower, maybe higher. And they're probably not higher, but yeah. Anyway, at receiver, again, if you don't know what's in this receiving position, we'll talk about how much money they got paid this offseason when we get to the identity of this football team. But Jamar Chase overall is probably the best receiver in football. Again, it's either him or Justin Jefferson. Again, those two. No one really even that close. So, yeah, Triple Crown season. Again, it wasn't anything like Cooper Kupp's. I'm gonna continue to say that, but still crazy season. 17 touchdowns, over 1,700 yards. He is gonna try to catch Tyreek Hill, become the second player ever. Again, Tyreek Hill did 2022, 2023 to have back-to-back 1,700 yard seasons. We'll see if he can do that. But again, Triple Crown season. He was best receiver in football. Big playability, playmaking ability is just otherworldly. All right, T. Higgins, kind of weird. Despite, again, him being regarded so highly, he hasn't had a 1,000-yard season since 2022. But again, in the offense that he is in, it makes sense that, again, he's not putting up those numbers. But last year, arguably the best year of his career, again, he's able to high point the football with the best of them. Also, his athleticism just overall is crazy. But still, again, T. Higgins is just awesome. Like, you got two number one receivers in your offense. Like, what are you going to do? Andre Yosifas, I think, is super underrated. He's a guy who, yes, maybe won't ever get targets more than, again, even did last year. I think he could be a little more efficient. His route running isn't great also. T. Higgins, very good route tree. But anyway, for Andre Yosifas, again, I think he got the line a little better. That'll also benefit him as well. But he did create separation on a decent clip. Again, like I said, very athletic, so he is able to high point the football at a decent. Again, he's able to do that as well. Good as well. But that's really all I got on him. Again, very underrated guy. Definitely a third receiver for them. Jermaine Burton came in as a guy who you could think is taking over that third role with really Trent Irwin owning that at that time. But again, Trent Irwin kind of stinks, and I don't even know where he is now. Maybe the Jaguars, something like that. Oh, that's ahead of the next thing we're doing. But here with Jermaine Burton, he had a 47-yard, I don't even know, it was like a catch or something. Even big play against the Chiefs back in week 2. Outside of that, he really didn't do much. He struggled to get off the line, which was a big issue with him. And until he turns into a guy who can really run more than 1 or 2 routes, I don't really see him doing too much here. Charlie Jones is a returner, not a receiver. Kendrick Pryor and maybe Isaiah Williams could carve out something. Probably not, though. You got, again, a bunch of other guys trying to fight on this roster. But a receiver, today, plus regardless, because you got 2 number 1 receivers who are arguably a top 10 receiver, maybe with even T. So, yeah, it's got to be an A+. That's going to come up to 36 points. I geeked out earlier when the audio wasn't working, but that's besides the point. At tight end now. When we look at Mike Gesicki, last season was the best year he had since he had that best year of his career with the Dolphins, at least productivity-wise in 2021. That big playability came back. More possession guy, which I like a lot because I think that, again, getting a little older than up into his 30s. Again, being that possession guy would definitely help translate his game, again, as he gets older. As a blocker, didn't really look as willing as we saw those 2 years with the Dolphins, but overall he's been durable his entire career. And again, he's just been a reliable tight end. That's all you need out of him. Again, and he also has that extra ceiling with him, which again kind of boosts him up there. Drew Sample, very solid backup. Again, I don't think he's definitely a better blocker than Mike Gesicki, but I don't really know how far that takes him. Again, as a receiver, still pretty capable. Eric All probably a little more capable than Drew Sample in both parts of the game, but at the same time, definitely not as consistent and still is, again, young and learning. Tanner Hudson, probably the best blocker in this entire offense outside of, again, the offensive line. But again, how far does that take him? Good question. But still, at tight end for the Bengals, I'll probably give them a B. I think that's pretty fair. Again, I think Mike Gesicki does deserve that. And overall, yeah, that's where we're going to sit. That's going to come out to 6, 12, and 16 points. Now let's look at this offensive line before we figure out the overall offensive grade is, in fact. And this Bengals offensive line always has had the bad rap that they suck, which, I mean, in some ways they are, because, again, like I said, their run blocking overall last season in terms of yards created per attempt is just, or before contact per attempt, whatever the heck you want to call that stat. And also, again, just watching them. They weren't that effective again, as a run blocking unit overall. That's something I think they'll definitely need to work on. They got some guys that can definitely help out with that schematically, but I don't really know how far that's going to take them if they don't, again, kind of work those kinks out. With that said, though, Orlando Brown's a very solid left tackle. He had some injury issues with the Bengals in 2023, but again, last year played most of the season. Again, also had some injury issues. But again, he's a really solid pass blocker. That's all I really want out of him. Again, he got that contract. Again, I think he's better fit at right tackle in terms of his overall value as a player. But again, who am I to say? Again, he got paid all that money at left tackle, so who cares? Jalen Rivers, haven't watched too much tape on him. Probably got to do do that for sure. But again, I definitely watched a lot more in 2023 from him, and it really wasn't popping off the page on me. So we'll see what he can do here. But again, he definitely has some consistencies that will be helpful for him. Cordell Wilson's a very solid guard as well. I don't think he's anything special though, because again, overall as a run blocker, he has really never shown to be a guy that can really be reliant on. But yes, as a pass blocker, he sustains block pretty well, and again, he can match up against some of those faster guys. Dylan Fairchild's a guy who still is learning how to, build off of any sort of success he's had. That's probably the best way to put it, because he has one play where he has a really good rep. The next one, he just gets absolutely dogged on. So we'll see how that works out. Ted Karras is a very average center, not a guy I really like, but in terms of continuity and how this offensive line is going to work out, he'll be fine. Matt Lee's a solid backup with some potential. He's not as good as Seth McLaughlin at the moment, though. Again, I think he's got a little bit more potential, though. So Seth McLaughlin, like I said, some of the physical limitations will hurt him, but again, overall, is a guy who, again, has played a while now. Again, with Ohio State and stuff, he's definitely a guy who can definitely carve out a certain role. We'll see, again, how he's able to technically develop. Cody Ford, again, he was absolutely atrocious with the Bills. Since coming to the Bengals, he's shown a little bit of growth, but I don't really know if that really warrants starting. Lucas Patrick, another guy who had similar things, but I think, again, unlike Cody Ford, he's never really been in the right scheme, and that's partly because, again, coming in here, he's going to expect to be a good run blocker, again, even probably take over Cody Ford. But again, is he just going to be okay enough to still be able to play him out there, considering his pass blocking has never been the greatest. Amarius Mims, again, like I said, he played absolutely none. Not none. He didn't play much at Georgia. Again, there's a big question mark there, but again, the talent and the size is just, it's there. There's no way around it. And, yeah, a lot of flashes last year, some downs, not as many as you might have projected for that to happen. But still, Amarius Mims should be great this year. We'll see what happens, though. Devin Crocker, not a guy you want to see on the field, to be honest with you. But, again, has experience in this offense, so we'll see how that works out. But this offensive line overall, I think, what did I even give him? I think I might give him B-. No, I think I gave him a C+. But the reason I say C+ is because, Orlando Brown's fine, but outside of that, you really can't be, too stoked about the rest of this offensive line. Again, Amarius Mims is the one guy, again, you should be, but, we still haven't seen it yet, so I think 12 points is fair there. Now, with all that said, when we look at the overall offensive grade, that's going to be 65, 21, 36. There we go. 16 and 12. That's going to give them 150 points in this offense, and that's going to round out to a pretty solid A grade, which makes sense because, again, they scored a lot of points last year. They really didn't change much. If not, they got better. So we'll see how that helps them. So, yeah, A on this offense. Time for the defense, which is what everyone wants to know about. How bad is it really? All right, defensively for the Bengals, we always start with the front seven. I'm going to talk about Logan Wilson because he's just crucial for this defense being any sort of good this year. But we'll start with the D-line because there's a lot more storylines with that as well. All right, their defensive line is, in-here defensive line has really just not been that good. That wasn't really that good last year whatsoever. Again, the interior. But again, B.J. Hill has always been a pretty productive pass rusher from the interior, and he continued to show that last year. Yeah, the tackle numbers are going to be pretty high, but I don't really think that is very indicative of actually how good he is. He's never really been a true number one run defender. You can't really center I wouldn't even say scheme, but the way you fit the running around him, because he isn't always going to be able to shed blocks at maybe the rate he was able to when DJ Reader was in here, who's a true difference maker against the run. But still, at the same time, he wraps up very, very well. He can his arm tackles are actually really nice. And I think in the way that they're going to use him this year, it's going to be very much more useful than what they tried last year. TJ Slane's just simply a nose tackle. I don't know how he's going to really work here. I think they might run a little bit more 3-4 fronts, which we'll see how that works out. But again, always has been a guy with the Packers that is able to penetrate pretty well and move the hole. But at the same time, he's never been a guy that's really been any sort of productive as a pass rusher. And unless he can, I don't know, maybe get a little bit of pressure, he is just not going to be a guy you want on the field too much. Because I'll tell you, they're going to be throwing the ball on this defense this year. Anyway, though, McKinley Jackson has just been absolutely atrocious since coming to the Bengals. I'm sorry, he was just absolutely awful last year. There's no way around that. He got tossed around. And for a guy who's 330, you got to expect a little bit more strength out of him, and it just did not show. Chris Jenkins, I think, is a guy that also wasn't very good last year in the interior. I will say I think his pass rusher showed a little bit more juice than maybe we actually would have thought of coming in. But at the same time, again, you're expecting to stop the run as a second-round pick. Did not do well whatsoever. But again, at the same time, it was better than McKinley Jackson. I mean, at least there's that. But again, also McKinley Jackson, you were definitely not thinking was going to be Chris Jenkins. So at the same time, these two guys have a lot of room to grow, but neither of them really played well at all last year. Okay, looking at the edge rushers, Joseph Osai has never been that good. Last year, I will see it a little bit of a resurgence towards the end of the year. As a run defender, he's always been okay. Again, 2022, 2023, very minimal snap counts. Also tore his ACL before the 2021 season, so again, that's also part of it as well. Like I said, last year, a pretty decent snap count. I still don't think he was very efficient or effective even as an edge rusher. You could argue with Sam Hubbard, who again retired, so I'm not going to try to throw shade on him. But still, as a run defender, he was pretty solid last year, but again, he's got to be better because they're not really the number 2 guy. Trey Nixon, if you didn't know, he led the league in sacks last year, number 5, 6 in pressures, so yeah, that might not correlate to be the best edge rusher in the league, but no one really thinks he's that. He was really the only guy in this defense that was playing even close to a all-pro sort of level. But yeah, he's downright freaking crazy ever since coming here. He's off the charts. I will say 2023 season maybe wasn't as bonkers as maybe 2022 or 2021 there. Yeah, there we go. Because, yeah, it was 2022 where he had a kind of down season. The past years, though, he's been an absolute alien, yeah. Trey Anderson's, like, downright elite. There's no error on it. Maybe even a little underrated. Shamar Stewart, among the contract buyouts and stuff, I didn't love the pick either because I don't really think he was worth that. But he's just a legit power rusher. They need a guy who can just get pressure. He'll be able to do that for them. I guarantee he'll be somewhat productive as a rookie because he's just somewhat that talented. But again, we'll see how he can sort of develop a sort of secondary move, which has always been something that I've questioned about. But on film, he makes plays. You don't got to worry about that. Miles Murphy's been a massive bust so far in his career. I get he had some pressures towards the end of the last year, so Bengals fans don't come to my throats on him. But he has just been god-awful. Like, I don't know how to tell you guys. Like, he's been so bad. Like, for a guy who was, at times, was like a blue-chip prospect with the Clemson, not good so far. Cam Sample's a guy that I think, the injury-ish sort of issues, but, like, he's never been a guy that's been productive off the edge either. So, like, they got guys that, like, I mean, they're there. There's, like, guys, but, like, they really have no Robin to Trey Henderson, like, which is what Sam Harper was for a little bit. But for the defensive line and the pass rush, I'm going to say the D-line overall doesn't project very good at all. I'm going to say they get a B-. That might be being nice, though. I think that is being – I want to say a C+, because Trey Henderson, as good as he was last year, he wasn't an elite run defender. Still was very good, but not an elite runner. That might even be nice. I think they just got – those two guys are like – B.J. Hill's a really good player. So, like, not really good. Pretty solid player. So, I don't want to give them a C+, but that might this is so tough. I have to drop it down to a C, guys. I'm sorry. This C line they're going to be good putrid against the run this year. It scares me. 10 points. Pass rush, I'll give a B- because of how good Trey Henderson is on his own. There's no way they were worse. They're worse than they were last year. So, B- and like even in the interior, they'll get some pressure. So, B-, that's going to be 12, 24, 28 points. But yeah, this D line it's scary for sure. Again, the pass rush depth is awful. All right, linebacker time. Demetrius Knight Jr. is not a guy that I want to be starting as a rookie, just simply because I don't think he physically is going to be able to keep up in coverage. But he is pretty instinctually well, and he's just a veteran guy who will make plays, at least coming into the league. So got good experience. That should help him out in terms of not making too many mistakes. But again, at the same time, physically not the greatest. Logan Wilson, one of the best run defenders in the NFL. I don't think you can really question that, again, on film in any way you thought. Never been a good cover guy at all. But again, I think the playmaking has definitely took a little bit of a hit as he tries to make more of a role where he's trying to just not give up big runs, which honestly is okay, but also that does reduce his effectiveness. So, yeah. Logan Wilson is a great linebacker, though, anyway. Oren Burks, he's not really that great. With the Eagles last year, I mean, admittedly, he started for a good amount of the year, but he never really did too much. He's always been opportunistic, which I really like about him. Probably the only trait that I'm really too enthused on him. Again, as a starting caliber guy, pretty much average. Then you got Shaka Hayward. Cannot pronounce that guy's name. Barrett Carter, who overall actually wasn't too awful last year. So, I mean, I guess there's that. Like with Clemson, I'm not the biggest fan of them, but like we'll see what happens. So they got one interesting guy in depth, but overall the linebacking core is a little bit weak. I'm gonna still give them a B-. That might be nice. I'll say a C+. Again, good. Logan Wilson is good. Demetrius Knight we'll see. Barrett Carter, again, you got two rookies here. Like, you can't be too fond about that. And then I could probably call it a wash there. And you got Oren Burks, who's an average guy. So, I'm going to say a C+, though, because as good as Logan Wilson is, they're going to give up yardage coverage, for sure. Now, time for this secondary. Moving on to the Bengals secondary, it's not a group that I'm particularly looking forward to watch this year, but we'll start out with cornerback. Cam Taylor-Britt, I call a number one corner, but is he really? Yes, he's pretty good in zone coverage overall. But he gets targeted a crap ton for a lot of good reasons. The main being he just isn't really good at preventing too much separation. There are downs in man coverage where he gives up at least 4 or 5 yards, which is extremely concerning. But outside of that, guys, like I said, very like smart. But yeah, like Jesus, like he gets burned. Like he gets burned a lot. So we'll see what happens with him. But I'd call him a number one corner though. God, it's tough. He's part of the problem for sure. Anyway, though, DJ Turner's on the other side. He's more of a press sort of man guy that can lock down a little bit better, but at the same time, he's just not that great. Last year, despite, playing a decent time, he also gave up some big plays as well. I think he's a little bit over-aggressive. Honestly, guys, they don't really have a true lockdown corner in this group, which is just kind of an issue. I got Dax Hill in the slot, who also hasn't really kind of carved himself out like a true role in this defense. Again, as a box safety in 2023, did a pretty solid job. Also was pretty versatile. Last year, though, got injured, so I can't go off too much of him. Even then, though, he was not very good. So I'd probably call it a prove it year for Dax because, like, still hasn't really found himself in the league. And unless he doesn't do it this year, finding himself a new team. Josh Newman is a guy that I really want to see on the field a little bit more. I get he got a lot of snaps last year, but I'm still not really, like, totally in on if he, like, what he actually is yet. Because I think he's got some talent. Like, again, I wasn't the biggest fan of him coming out of TCU because I'm like, yeah, this guy just physically isn't really there. But played overall probably the best out of all these guys in the secondary from what we saw last year, again, in my opinion. But anyway, TJ Ivy, Jalen Davis, we're not great. Marco Wilson is atrocious, and you got some other dudes. This cornerback room, I get Cam Taylor-Britt has been decent, I guess is what you call it. I don't really know, guys. He gives a lot of big plays. I'm going to stick at a C for this. No, C minus for this cornerback room. That would be even being nice. Can't tell Britt, though. Like, he's a guy that's been productive in his career. Like, I got to give him a C minus. Like, anything less is just kind of stupid. All right, safety time. Jordan Battle is a weird guy because in coverage he is, the ratings are sky high, but even on film he's really not giving up that many bad plays. There are windows he opens up just because he's just not that, like the instincts are just not there. But also at the same time, I think his natural feel and coverage has progressed for sure. So that is good. But like again, unless he becomes a guy that you could tremendously count on and tackling the open field, how much do you want him starting? Geno Stone, I get. He is a ball hawk. The pick numbers just straight up say that. There's no way around that. But at the same time, he was much worse in man-to-man and overall dependability as an over-the-field sort of guy. I mean, he's got the speed. He's gonna make plays if you make a stupid throw. That gives you a lot of value out of him. But like, at the same time, is he that great? Don't know. Tyson Anderson, underlying numbers do help him, but at the same time, he's not that big of a difference maker. Again, if you watch that game against the Titans with him, he's really the only guy now that can play. Everyone else is, we'll see. His safety room is also not too desirable. I'm gonna give him a C plus though, because at the same time, I think like it's not the worst. I'm gonna stick with C plus because Geno Stone's a solid player, like overall, if we think about it. So C plus. What is that? 18 points, and then when we put the overall defensive grade, that's going to be equal 18 plus 10 plus 28. This still doesn't fit. Screw it. I gotta lower this pass rush. It's got to be a C plus. Like I gotta think. Admittedly, guys, the pass rush of the Bengals like is gonna get. I think we're gonna lower it again. I don't do this that often, but I think it's fair because like as good as Trey Henderson is, this pass rush will not be above average next year. I'm telling you that right now. So 10 plus 24 plus 8 plus 18. It's going to be 78 points, which is just not very good. But at the same time, like, they got one good player. So, I mean, that's it. So, I think I'm overreacting a little bit. But that's going to be, what do we say, 78? It's going to put them in the D tier. I'm going to say they get a, what do we say, 82? I'm back to a B minus. Now I think about it. Because they're still in the D tier. So, B minus, Jesus. We're going to retract that because it's still not very good. So, D plus for this defense. So, yeah, it's bad. I just did that. But it's not that bad. So, no, it's pretty bad. This defense is not good. I'll admit that. But there's no way, again, last year, again, people were talking about how bad they really were. You would consider the fact that they forced a good amount of turnovers, and they had some guys, they had true playmakers in Geno Stone, Cam Taylor-Britt, Logan Wilson, and Trey Anderson in that defense. They're definitely not the worst defense in the league like some people try to put them out to be. But they give out so much yardage and so many big plays. Unless that changes, yeah, it's going to be tough. We'll get more on the identity, though. That's coming up right now. As always, though, we do need to talk about the special teams unit for the Bengals. Evan McPherson's a great kicker. Cade York is not a good kicker. Ryan Rickow, I think he was a rookie last year or something like that, but he's been a pretty good solid punter so far. Charlie Jones is not fun to play with in Madden, but I mean as a returner he's fine. And Chikala Dominus, I think he was this long snapper when they were in the Super Bowl, if I'm not mistaken, because I think I remember him from. No, that's wrong, completely wrong. Anyway, though. For the Bengals special team unit, again, it's had their issues. I'm gonna say a B minus though, because like they do have dependability at like the main positions, so we're gonna stick with that. But definitely better special teams unit overall in the league. All right, depth, quarterback depth. Okay, we're just gonna I forgot we did that. But depth for the Bengals is gonna be quarterback depth. I give a B plus. Running back depth, I give a C-ish. I think that's C plus. So at that point, we're probably to be B minus. Receiver depth, I'd probably give a D. Because again, if they get injured, they're cooked. No, we're gonna say a D. So D. No, that might be mean. I think a D plus is probably a little bit more warranted. So D plus, we're probably down to a C plus. C plus, tight end depth, I give a B plus. We're probably up to a B minus then. B minus, O-line, I'll probably give a C, so we're probably down to a C plus. Defensively, the D-line just overall is just not giving me good vibes. I'd probably give a D plus. If we're talking about, no. D-line, D-line, I'd probably give overall, we're talking about actually, it's probably a C-ish. No, honestly, we'll give it a C plus. There's worse. C plus to sell it a C plus. Pass rush is definitely a D. D to C plus. We're probably down to a C. Linebacker depth, I'd also give a D. Probably down to a C minus at this point. So C minus. Second cornerback depth, I'd probably give a C-ish. So we're probably still at a C. Down to C minus. Safety depth is probably a D-ish too, so we're probably at a D plus, and that's probably where we're gonna sit. So yeah, the Bengals don't have very good depth. No, honestly, a C minus. I think that's where it's fair. Because yeah, this secondary is not very deep, and then you look at like the linebacking core, that's concerning. The pass rush is really weak. Outside of again a guy like Trey Anderson and probably B.J. Hill. Again, these guys can Chris Jenkins give you something, but like how much is that really gonna matter? All these guys got to step up. Like I like Shamar Stewart a lot, but like not looking good right now, and like he's a rookie. We'll see. And then offensively, there's some positions that have to work. So I'm gonna say C minus for that. Definitely a little bit of an issue, but like if they stay healthy, who cares? So yeah, I guess that's what we got. And then identity. Offensively, it's very simple. They're gonna do what they do always, but I think the turnovers are something that I think they need to work on. And again, they got to be a little bit more complimentary football because this defense, like I said, isn't awful. It's not the worst, but like definitely issues. So offensively, especially with Zach Taylor, really just trying to get this like offense in like some sort of like normal sort of mindset here. I'm gonna say they get an A minus there, but defensively, it's not great. Biggest issue is they have 4 playmakers, like true guys. Like they can make a difference on defense. The question is their new defense coordinator actually gonna make a difference here? Because I don't really know if that's gonna happen. Because of how many they just give so much goddamn yardage, so many big plays last year. That's just gotta change. There's no way around it. And the fact this D line is probably worse than it was going into last year. And the secondary is also probably worse than it was going into last year. Is not a good sign. But you can't expect Trey Anderson to carry this entire pass rush, which I'm probably being nice giving them a B minus. But yeah, this defense is just not good. Again, everyone's they trash. Like all that. It's like I don't like the narrative either, guys. But like it's definitely holds warranty. So I'd probably give them a D. But honestly, I'd say a D plus for their identity. It's not that bad. They're gonna be better than they were last year. Like and even then, they weren't actually as awful because they forced turnovers. That does warrant something. I'm gonna say they get a C plus though because they're. If Joe Burrow plays like this and this defense is anywhere remotely as preventative as I think they will be, they're making the playoffs this year. That's going to be 30 points stuff for the defense, and now let's see how that affects the overall roster grade. All right, doing the math here, which is also going to segue us into some financial talk on the Bengals. We get 285 points, which is probably not where you want to be, Bengals fans, but again, with how the defense was taking care of this offseason, not really bad. Again, they also had we were talking about this. They had a D roster grade, which is draft grade, which is the worst in football. So 285 is kind of nice. We're going to say a B minus because how good that offense is. But the Bengals, again, like I said, it's a very imbalanced football team. And, yeah, the fact they gave 2 receivers, which they didn't have to pay that much money in the first place if they, just signed them earlier, that much money, and Joe Burrow's getting, Joe Burrow's going to get paid that much money, but, he's getting that much. Trey Anderson hasn't gotten signed yet. It's kind of showing, yes, those 2 receivers are that good, but they don't really need that much money. If they would have signed him earlier, especially Jamar Chase, they would be in a lot better situation, and they'd have a guy, they got definitely a better cornerback right now. Yeah, this defense, again, the narratives hold some warranty, or some true validity, if that's what we want to say there. But at the same time, guys, this is a defense that I think is definitely going to be growing more than failing. But yes, there are concerns because, again, they didn't really do much for this offseason. That, again, this is the roster that reflects, despite them being probably more talented team than this is. With that said, though, that is all I have for the Bengals in their 2025 roster grades. Hope you guys enjoyed. And yeah, we end the second half of this starting tomorrow. Or no, later. Yeah, whatever. You'll see who's next.
Robinson, left side, has the first down, and there he goes. 30, 20, 10, touchdown Jacksonville.
What a play call. All of these Chargers are going to get caught inside, Greg, and then there's one Charger. Asante